You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
We are NerdLanta.
You are now listening to the NerdLanta podcast. Episodes are available on all podcast apps and on the ESO Network. Please visit us online at nerdlanta.com for more info.
All right. Hey, Matthew. How are you doing? Welcome to NerdLanta.
I'm doing great. Julie, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to be here on the NerdLanta podcast. And we also have Jon Dean as part of our podcast today, which I have been looking forward to talking to Jon for a very long time. How are you doing, Jon?
I'm doing fine. I'm happy to be here.
Now, you are the head of WUSSY, and are you like the unicorn of WUSSY? I'm trying to think of like a fun, playful title that's not boring.
I am a co-founder and the editor-in-chief is my technical name.
Technical, okay. If you could describe yourself as like a funny title, what would it be?
Constant warrior.
Constant warrior of WUSSY?
Planner. I don't know.
Okay, I'm a constant warrior of my pussy, so... I don't know if we can say those things, but we will. Thanks, Jon. What's been going on with you guys this week? I know we're still in the midst of coronavirus, and I know things are still kind of crazy. Have y'all been going out into the world, or have you been kind of keeping it low-key chill?
I have my like quarantine bubbles, but I don't really go anywhere. A lot of the bars and stuff are starting to open, and a lot of my favorite spaces, but I've been keeping out of all that. I can't really afford to get sick.
Mm-hmm.
And all that has sort of just blown up in their faces. So
yeah, that's so true. Matthew, you still working at the Starbucks?
Still working at Starbucks. Yeah, doing that thing. This week, the week we're recording, I think this is going to be we'll release this the week after the policy goes into effect. We're going to start banning people from coming inside without masks. So I can't wait to get screamed at over that. I'm super looking forward to that because I get screamed at over dumb stuff already. So this is just going to be the cherry on top. Just one more thing. Like the big thing people have been upset about is that our bathrooms are closed to the public. Just because, to be safe, we would need to add that to our sanitation cycle, sanitize it pretty much after every customer would be a safe response to that because you're actively touching things in the bathroom over and over. Whereas just coming into the cafe, the only thing you touch is like the door handle and your own coffee. So we let people into the cafe. They can place an order. They have to take it and leave. So we did have a man push past our barricade, ignore the signage that said bathrooms are closed. And when he was confronted about it, he yelled at us, which was really fun. I can't wait till he comes back in later this week and we tell him he has to wear a mask because he was not wearing a mask when he when he broke our bathroom policy. So
Can you use the bathroom if you have a mask?
No, it's just closed to the public in general. It'll be interesting to see if that changes. That'll be fun. I don't know. There's got to be a joke there somewhere.
Well, if I have to take a poop, I go to Starbucks, so it's good to know.
Absolutely. That's how I became a regular at the Starbucks I now work at. I was working in an office, and when I needed to poop, I would just go to this one Starbucks, and now I work there.
So you can't poop there.
I can't poop there anymore. Now I work there. Now I go back to my old office to poop.
Hey guys, you haven't seen me in a while, but
surprise. Yeah, and I poop so much more because I decided to institute coffee chugging at work as a team building exercise. So I don't know if you guys have ever had the nitro cold brew, but it's highly caffeinated and it's got the nitrogen infused, so it absorbs into your body quicker. And we chug one right before a big rush. So it's a lot of fun.
I've never heard of those, but I need to try it.
Oh yeah, if you are a coffee lover, you need to be drinking the nitro because it helps the absorption faster. The caffeine hits you immediately. If you do a bunch of them back to back to back in a row, if you chug them, you start to get a little sweaty. It's great. It's great. Highly recommend it.
And then you have to go find somewhere to poop.
And then you immediately need to find a restroom. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man, that sounds. I mean, the way things are in the world, that sounds really fun. I mean, you're pooping in different places. You're not stuck to one bathroom.
I'm not stuck to one bathroom. That's the nice thing about being at my parents' house is that they have a house, whereas I could just afford a box if I was on my own. But I've got multiple bathrooms to poop in at home. I've got 2 bathrooms at work. Julie, let's just jump into the nerd news. How does that sound?
I'm feeling nerdy. Let's do it.
Well, this week I brought to talk about the Trump administration looking at banning TikTok in America. TikTok, guys.
That's so interesting.
Are we making TikToks? Are we trying to get TikTok famous in quarantine? Is that part of everyone's plan? Is that how I'm going to sell my body? I don't know.
Well, my thinking is like I'm curious to see if they can fully ban it. I mean, that feels like we're in not a diplomatic state or democratic state, but
legally.
I know there's security issues. I know that Amazon released a letter to their staff today saying that they can no longer use the TikTok app on their phones. They can use it on their laptop, but they can't do it on their phones because it's like, there are security issues with it leaking into their inboxes of their mail. So I don't know. I mean, it feels very like China to me to like ban a social media app. But I also haven't investigated a ton about like why they're trying to ban it.
Well, so the backstory to this is, so now the Army, the Navy, Amazon, Wells Fargo, from any company phones, they've all banned TikTok because, yes, there's this issue about it is a company owned by a company called ByteDance that is located in Beijing. So there is this issue, this supposed issue that they could capture Americans' data from their cell phones, give it to the Chinese government. It's kind of like back, remember when they had to ban Fitbits from Army bases because they realized guys were wearing them, as a pedometer, they were going on jogs around the base, and they found out they had mapped entire Army bases through jogging patterns, and that information had gotten leaked. Kind of like that, so we don't know what data TikTok is allegedly taking. It should be noted that TikTok. So funny enough, TikTok is banned in China, even though it's owned by a Chinese corporation. But, China does have very stringent social media bans about, any connection to the outside world. So everything kind of has its own, like there's a Facebook for China, Twitter for China, it's like everything that way. It's a closed network. And ByteDance operates a separate platform that is essentially TikTok for China. So they run both of them, the inside and outside of China. But the CEO of TikTok is American. It came from the merger of an American company called Musical.ly, which was like an underused app that had a small teenage following. TikTok bought it. And that's really how they got their foot into America, into the door. And so yeah, the fear is that they're scamming our data off our phones, and but it is owned by the CEO of TikTok, is American, and they keep the data. That their claim is that their storage, all their servers are here in America with a backup in Singapore. That they don't store any data in China. They have come out and said, like, even if the Chinese government, they said we do not give information to the Chinese government. And if they asked us for it, we would say no. So they came out very strongly against sharing data, private citizens' data with the Chinese government. The interesting side to this, what I find fascinating, I don't know if you remember from a couple of weeks ago when there were like 1 million pre-order tickets to the Tulsa, Oklahoma rally for President Trump. But they found out that a lot of them were like fake orders or fake reservations. And it was kind of a thing that went off on TikTok. Is he trying to ban TikTok so the K-pop fans can't get him? Is that what's happening? It's hard to tell.
I don't support Trump having the power to remove any kind of social media platform, but TikTok, I kind of fucking hate it. And they have also been accused in the past of like suppressing a lot of queer voices and queer content, and hashtags. And last month, I remember when Black Lives Matter hashtag was surging a lot, they were kind of banning some of those, not completely banning, but they had to get called out on it to kind of have that show up in their feeds again. It's like the suppression of certain topics, and a lot of it had to do with queer culture or Black Lives Matter. So that I find problematic.
There is something interesting about TikTok where they seem to, more so than any other, it's like I've got friends who've had stuff removed from Facebook. I've had friends that have had stuff removed from Instagram. But it seems to happen on TikTok a lot and without explanation. Like, on Instagram and Facebook, if you see a female breast, it's getting removed. That's just, it's like
that's just you, Matthew, because you don't.
That's just me. I just block them immediately.
You're like,
as soon as I see boobs, I'm like, block, report.
That's your personal algorithm.
It's my personal algorithm. But TikTok seems to have this thing where they just, or like even my brother has made some TikToks. They chose to remove the audio, not because it was copywritten, and without explanation, just removed the audio from one of his TikToks. So it seems to be, I feel like the rules are a little bit more clear and defined on other social media platforms. Not that they're not endorsing them in any way, but they seem to be there. It's like I've had some, I've seen some thirst traps get deactivated, or some thirst trap Instagram accounts, or some, outright, reports about like, hate speech Facebook groups that get deleted. Those absolutely should be deleted. But I can't seem to follow the trend line on TikToks that, just reports just anecdotal evidence of people, making it to millions of views to just suddenly and without reason being removed from TikTok. And I don't understand it. And that's why I'm a little concerned about TikTok. I find it very interesting. And just within the administration, there's some disconnect on why they want to ban it. Pompeo says that they want to ban it because of the data mining issues. Trump says they want to do it as punitive measures for releasing the coronavirus. So it's like, okay, well, what's your real reason for wanting to ban this app? And also, just as a pro, there doesn't legal experts seem to think that they have no recourse for this. It would take a legislative action from Congress. So, and even if Congress did try and ban TikTok, they would have to go through the app stores trying to limit Apple and Google from selling it, would be their recourse. And it could be fought. So TikTok can fight it, Apple and Google can fight it, all on free speech grounds. And they've got a pretty solid case there, in my opinion. So not that I'm a legal expert at all, but just in my reading. So yeah, John, are you on TikTok? You said you hate TikTok. Why do you hate TikTok?
Yeah, I'm not on TikTok. It's another thing. I mean, my day is spent managing like different social media accounts. And that's just another thing I don't have the mental capacity to do. And I just see so many like people my age that are just thirsty trying to do it. And it's just cringy.
Yeah, it's very like there's a lot of thirst trapping. And I don't know if that's just like, so I did end up downloading the app because I do work with a lot of high schoolers. And that's how they communicate with me, as they just send me TikToks all day. So it's become the Vine. Like Vine was big for me. I was big into Vine. Yeah. I didn't make Vines, but I watched a lot of them. It's their Vine, so I get it. This is their culture. And so I'm trying to partake in it so I can understand what they talk about. But I do find like, so now that I've got the app, it's like sending me like weird thirst traps of like teenagers. Like, stop doing this, TikTok, stop. I did not ask for this. I don't like anything. I don't actually have like an account, but I've downloaded the app so that I can watch the videos easier.
It just makes me feel old. There's a lot of really funny ones. I like when people send me the funny ones, but just to have it on my phone and scroll through it.
There's a fantastic one of my favorite that my brother sent me is from a trans. I believe they identify as a comedian on their page, but just because they just post comedic content. But doing kind of like a spin on like what would you wish for from a genie? I will send it to you guys. It's my favorite TikTok of all time.
Please do.
Oh, I'm going to send it to you guys on Facebook after
I
this.
saw some
Okay, yeah, I'm not going to send it to you on TikTok.
I'm going to send it to me. I mean, I'm not like obsessed with TikTok. Like I don't listen to it or I don't watch it like all the time, you know, but I did see some really cute ones this week where like a bunch of girls were coming out to their loved ones. They were listening to the Jason Derulo song and like the line is like, this girl's straight, this girl's not. And so it was a bunch of girls doing that with their friends or family. And like when it says this girl's straight and this girl's not, they would point to themselves. And it was like their way of coming out to their friends. And like, I thought that was really sweet. And there was like hundreds of them, you know, I just watched a couple, but I don't know. I mean, I wonder a lot of times how I would feel if these apps had been around with me being, you know, when I was young and struggling with my sexuality. Like, what would it mean for me to kind of, you know, see moments like that can be spread so virally over social media. Like, I do think there's some good to it, but I also agree, like, it's also really stupid.
I really appreciated Vine with their limit on 6-second videos. I really appreciate because it really forced you to boil down an idea to its funniest. You know, what if this idea is core to being funny and can you do it in 6 seconds? I kind of liked that limit to the creativity. That was nice. And the other thing about TikTok is that it rewards, you know, they do these challenges. So it's this reward for producing almost identical content. You know, it's like, can I do this? And sometimes you see people take an idea that is one of these TikTok challenges and spin it on its head. And I really appreciate seeing that. But, you know, you get 1 out of 10 is one of those. The other 9 are people just mimicking, or even down to like they've got lip sync challenges where it's just, you know, a kid in front of a camera lip syncing to the audio of someone else telling a story. Mm-hmm. And it's like, how perfect can I get my lip sync? I'm like, I don't care how good your lip sync is. Like, put out some original content. And then I will enjoy that. Like, but you're just sharing someone else's story. That's not interesting to me. I don't understand the nuances of that and how in certain cases TikTok does reward conformity. I understand like dance challenges. There you do want the dances. You know, if someone puts out a really cool dance, then you do want to mimic that dance. However, you know, if you can shoot it in a funny place or in a funny costume, some unique take, enhance an idea. Don't just parrot it, I guess. Yeah, that's how I feel about TikTok. I find a lot of that.
Are they doing it because they want to get like retweeted or whatever from the person that originally made it with like a larger account?
Poster? Yeah, maybe. But, you know, it's like you go into these, you know, the way they do it is like the audio itself is like a hashtag. So you can search by the original audio to find the source video as well as anyone else who has used this audio in their video, which is an interesting feature. But that's how, but you comb through them and there's thousands and there's no way the original creator is watching all these videos. I would hope not. I hope they have something better to, you know, especially the original creator. If they put out something really genuinely funny and unique, I hope they're not spending their time watching everyone attempt to do their thing, but better. Like, you know, as a stand-up comic, like if someone went out and did my set verbatim, I would be like, no, that's not contributing to the conversation. Do my jokes, but do them, put a spin on. I would love to hear Julie do my jokes because my jokes are all about butt stuff. And that would be so great to listen to.
I want to hear you do my jokes as a matter about being a lesbian. So it would be perfect.
I would. Let's just, Ian Aber used to run a show like that.
I remember that.
Yeah, that would be really, the Julie and I swapping funny sets for a night. That would be really fun.
Comedy turnabout.
Yes. What did he call that show? Now I don't remember. He did because they had like an earpiece and you would like read lines over I don't remember.
I don't remember. I remember him,
very funny comedian.
I remember him putting in
Ian's
Facebook
great.
asking like who would be interested in doing that and who you would play. But I don't remember the actual. He might have done it before I started comedy. I don't remember the one that I saw. I don't know if it ever came into fruition.
Yeah, it was really fun to watch. I wasn't a part of it, but I went to a couple of them, and yeah, it was another thing. Like when you're trying to do something new like that, you're plagued with issues, and it was called Surrogates. Producer Chris is on the line. He remembered it. Yeah, it was called Surrogates. Thank you, Chris. Yeah,
They do that.
You got a surrogate for your set. That was the whole idea.
That's fun.
That's fun. Yeah, they do that a lot for drag shows sometimes. For set casts, they'll do like a turnabout show where each of them kind of does the drag of somebody else and like some lip syncs a song that is in their style.
Oh,
and those are always
That's
really
interesting.
fun. Yeah.
But is it purely an exercise in mimicking, or is it kind of like a challenge? And I guess it comes down to the performer and how they want to do it, because I would really appreciate to see someone do a take on my set but not do my set, so is it the same during those kinds of shows?
It is. It's kind of trying to amplify their personality, but it's interesting because some people are some people are easier to kind of replicate than other people, or heighten into like a big drag.
It's like a caricature almost.
Yeah. It's like Snatch Game on Drag Race. There's just some people that don't do Lady Gaga. Like, she's not going to be funny ever. Or Beyonce.
Right. Yeah. There's some amazing lip sync. Like when I've seen some drag shows, where they're lip syncing to spoken word, right? Like it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's so precise. It's completely like second by second. It's like perfect. I've seen that on Drag Race too, like them taking a scene from Real Housewives and like redoing it in their drag and like animating the scene and like doing it word per word. And that always blows me away. I'm always so amazed by how people can do that. I have like all the respect for drag queens. Like I freaking love drag queens. I love drag. My girlfriend, I go see drag all the time. I mean, I'm always just so blown away with their charisma and like how they can lip sync and like their movements. I mean, they're really, and I always say, that they are, to me, they're the best stand-up comics. I mean, if you really want to see the absolute best crowd work in the world, go to a drag show.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And they really have to do it all. They have to host a show, they have to perform, they have to be their own stylist and makeup artist and wig stylist and all that. So
yeah,
it's really
it's amazing. Well, that was an interesting segment of nerdy news. I'm looking at the time. It's 8:41. Let's see. Do we want to do we do a little promo break? Yeah, let's do a little promo break, and then I have a little bit of nerd news, and then we'll keep the show moving.
I'm Brittany Vitrino.
And I'm Martha Bartlett. We've been nerds since day one, and we love to talk.
And now we're your hosts of But First, Let's Talk Nerdy.
Come listen if you like anything from comics, anime, video games, sci-fi, and even history.
Just sit back, relax, even join us with a drink in hand, because we'll have one in ours too, and come talk nerdy with us every Tuesday.
We are now a proud member of the ESO Network, and you can download wherever you like to listen.
See you next Tuesday.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the comedy stylings of Hugh from the Borg Collective.
When I was part of the Borg Collective, my Borg wife was so fat, when she sat around the collective, she sat around the collective.
The Monster Sci-Fi Show is part of the ESO Network. It's sci-fi from a certain point of view.
We are NerdLanta.
You are now listening to the NerdLanta podcast. Please visit us online at nerdlanta.com for all episodes.
Okay, and we're back. Julie, do you want to quickly go through your nerd news? What did you bring to the table this week?
I had like so many things I want to talk about this week. I had a hard time like picking and choosing. So, okay, do you guys want happier nerd news or like really sad nerd news?
I'll let John decide.
Let's do happier.
Okay, let's keep life happy. So I was really intrigued by Hamilton being put on Disney Plus. Did you guys happen to watch it?
I watched the first hour and then I forgot that it was that long. So I haven't got around to finishing it, but I do plan on watching the whole thing.
I mean, you made it farther than I did. I made it like 20 minutes.
Whether you're a fan of Hamilton or not, or whether you like sat through the whole thing or not, like for me, what's just interesting about the moment is, Broadway's going to be shut down for Lord knows how long. So the idea, and putting a Broadway musical to a movie or something like that is, nothing new. But I think just releasing it as the stage play or the stage musical, and there's just such a phenomenon with Hamilton. I mean, I saw Hamilton when it came to the Fox, and I really loved it. I mean, I thought it was a great musical. I thought the music was great. I loved the characters. I could see why it's become kind of this cultural phenomenon. Am I obsessed with it like some people? No, but I understand why people have gotten so into it. And I feel like, especially right now, the way the world is politically, like there's no better time to kind of have this story and have these songs and have people of color playing white and British folks. I don't know. I thought it was cool, but I just, I thought it was interesting just seeing it kind of go to Disney Plus. And apparently Disney Plus, I mean, they received 74% of app downloads over the week. So the Disney Plus app was downloaded 752,000 times globally, and 458,000 times just in the US.
That's amazing.
I wonder how much money they spent on getting Hamilton to their platform too.
Right? I wonder that too. Like, how much did it cost to get the rights to be able to do
buku bucks, but I think they already have. They've got that relationship there since I believe Disney's producing the live action version that's supposed to come out next year, the year after, sometime in the future. So they've already got that relationship with Lin-Manuel Miranda for working on that together. I think this was kind of like we're in quarantine. We need some real good content. What are we going to do?
It up, didn't they?
They pushed
it was originally going to be. It was originally supposed to come out like in November or something.
Yeah, so they shifted the film to the direct-to-streaming release about a year before it was originally scheduled to play in theaters.
Did y'all see the part where Jonathan Groff spits everywhere?
Yes.
Yeah, there's like so many funny tweets about that, like him just spitting everywhere.
So many. That's something. That's a rabbit hole to fall down in on TikTok. There are some good interpretations of that moment on TikTok.
And he's like, I know I do it. He's like, I cannot stop. And he's like, I feel really bad for the people in the front row, but they are covered in my spit. But Jonathan Groff's a hottie. Like, who wouldn't want to be covered in
spit on me?
Yeah, there you go, John.
It's just it's a cool moment whether you are a Hamilton fan or not, like to be kind of given this huge thing that like not a lot of people have access to, and it's always been kind of a thing where like the have-nots in a way were not able to really ever see it because the ticket prices are crazy and the lines and the wait for the actual tickets has been crazy. So like, and also now with Broadway being closed, like it's just made that art so much more accessible.
I agree. And like anyone can watch it now, like from kids to grandparents, no matter economic status, and it's available to everybody, which is, the heart and soul of the show, really. Like, that's an interesting point. I didn't think about that.
Kids, for some reason, love it. White women are obsessed with it. It's a huge thing. They
should rename it, instead of Hamilton, they should rename it Karen.
They should.
All the white women will be like, oh my God, I love Karen. So that's my nerd news. I just thought, it happened last week. It dropped last week, got a lot of play. And I just think it's, I think a lot of my nerd news has been about how things have been changing in the face of COVID. Like we've talked one week just about movies, like whether movies are ever going to come back or they're going to go still kind of be that like direct to streaming content. Now you have a musical that was put on Disney Plus rather quickly. So I don't know, it just kind of makes me wonder just like where entertainment is headed. And I'd be curious with you, John, as we introduce you. Hello, John.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome
Hi.
again to NerdLanta. So with you being the head of WUSSY, where do you see things like drag shows and like comedy? Matthew and I are both comedians. Like, where do you see that going in terms of just like the state of the world? Like, do you think there's still going to be shows, or have you, do you feel like watching things digitally is going to become kind of more normal?
Yeah, it's been interesting to watch. I mean, we count on those live shows and live events to fundraise everything that we do. So we've had to kind of make a shift towards doing some digital stuff. And I think early on in quarantine, when people hadn't really been doing that before, it was really novelty. It was like kind of a different thing that people hadn't seen before. So people were excited to watch and see, how are people going to do this? How are drag queens going to turn their bedroom into a stage? And things have sort of evolved as more and more people are doing it. It's more common. Like, the sense that I'm getting is that people are just really sick of it. The drag queens are having to make these like mini movies or mini music videos for one show, and counting on Venmo tips or Cash App tips. And we know that's not always going to be enough for all the work they put into it. So I think that with bars opening again, and probably looks like they're shutting back down again, there might be a resurgence in it some more, and maybe people can find newer ways to do it. But it's definitely been interesting.
Well, I definitely think it can, it maybe can serve to advance the art form a little bit. It's like taking things from live to pre-recorded even. You have the ability to work in some, movie magic. I'm really hoping to see like a resurgence and like, since we're all doing it from home, we're all just hacking it. I don't have any digital, editing experience. It's like I don't have anything like that. I can't add in my own special effects to videos. But, it's like if I was at home working, kind of a resurgence of those like old school movie magic techniques to achieve special effects. I would love to see like some investment from artists into like bringing some of those skills back. Like an anecdote, I'm pretty sure I've told it on the podcast before, but like J.J. Abrams, when he took over the Star Trek reboot, wanted to shoot a skydiving scene with Chris Pine. And instead of suspending him from wires and doing it on a green screen, they took him out to the parking lot of the studio and had him stand on top of a mirror and shot him from top down. Because then with the mirror, you get the reflection of the sky, and it looks like you're falling down if you just flip the camera. So it's just, things like that. Yeah. So, but I do understand the burnout. I know, especially for stand-up comics. I've done one show, and it was actually as a part of a Brent Starr is doing a weekly, he's a local drag performer. He's doing a weekly pre-recorded show where he usually does a number or two, and there's some light sketch comedy involved. And then I did stand-up for a segment. I found it very hard to do stand-up for, just two people. It was Brent and Will, who filmed for us. And it was hard. So I've signed up to do one more online show, but I'm scared. Is
it hard? Yeah. I was wondering like the comedian perspective from that. 'Cause I mostly interact with drag queens, but we recently had an event centered around Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and we had a lot of comedians like Ian involved in that, and so they had to do some 5 to 7 minute sets, and they all did some creative things to kind of spice it up. But I can imagine doing that without the laughs of the audience is really tough.
Mm-hmm. I think like any performer, right? Drag queens, performance artists, comedians, like we thrive off the energy of other people. So I think that, Matthew and I both done online shows. And I'd say that, on one hand, the cool thing about it is that you can reach anybody, right? Like I'm no longer limited to just my Atlanta bubble as far as like getting my friends to come to a show or like only getting comics in Atlanta on my show. I had an online show where I got to have people on there from New York and LA and Hawaii.
Yeah.
And so that was super cool, kind of thinking outside the box in that way. Like, oh, wow, I'm not just limited to Atlanta, which was freeing. But on the other hand, just like all of us performers, I mean, we feed off the energy of other people. And, comedy's hard anyway. And then when you add in kind of like not having a direct feedback of like people laughing, I think that it turns into more, it's hard to just do stand up. I think it almost kind of turns more into like a conversation, with the hosts or maybe like an interview type format. But, I was talking to Lace Larrabee the other day, and I mean, she really thinks that, she runs the female comedy show in Atlanta called Laugh Lab, which I am a part of. And, she was really saying, I think live comedy is going to come back, but I also don't think that online comedy is going to completely go away, and I feel like you need to kind of start maybe getting a little bit flexible with doing both.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that it's, once we open back up, there's certain shows that I can definitely see sticking around in the digital stuff. And there's certain drag shows that have kind of made a big mark in that.
What are some things you've seen that have taken space or had taken place in the digital space that have impressed you? Any specific?
Yeah, my friend Bitch Puddin', who was on Dragula season 2, she used to live in Atlanta and she lives in LA now, started a digital drag show every Friday night. And she was, I think, the first one to do it on Twitch, at least during quarantine. I think there may have been other drag queens on that platform before, but kind of using it to do a streamed drag show with performers all across the world. Hers took off really quickly, and kind of she was able to give a platform to different types of performers and help them pay their rent, when all we had was like the one stimulus check. So that's been cool to watch.
What a fun repurposing of that platform. I know locally Dad's Garage has taken their streaming to Twitch as well, for improv comedy. So that's been what a fun
for drag. It's one of the only platforms you can use and be able to play any music you want, because that's a big thing. Like with YouTube Live, I think that they'll take it down, and Facebook, they have copyright stuff with the music. So I don't think technically you're supposed to leave it up on Twitch after you've already streamed it, but they won't really catch it within a day or two.
Interesting. That's really funny. That didn't even occur to me about music and licensing. Yeah, because I know Facebook will pull things down like that for using unlicensed music. So, very interesting. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, that's interesting. So as the owner and editor-in-chief of Wussy Mag, tell us, Jon, like how you got started with creating this magazine. This magazine, I feel like there's no better time to have Wussy as part of both LGBTQ culture, but also just Atlanta culture in general. So I'd love to hear your backstory on how you got to where you are and how you kind of not only created this magazine, but also I would call Wussy a movement.
Yeah, I moved to Atlanta in, I think, 2011 and started going to drag shows, started going to like the other show at Jungle, which is not open anymore. But I met a lot of people my age that were photographers and visual artists and drag queens that were doing really inspiring things. And my background is in photography. So I started reaching out to them and setting up photo shoots. And from there, we created this exhibition / movement called Legendary Children Atlanta, made up of drag queens and visual artists. And we would kind of put on these like art parties with the gallery show and a drag show and multimedia. And from there, that kind of turned into Wussy Mag, where I kind of founded that with some of the other artists that I was working with. And we just kind of saw a need to reflect the people and the artists that we were seeing and that we were inspired by. A lot of the gay media in Atlanta, especially at the time, was very white and very, just cis gay focused. And we wanted to be able to highlight nightlife as well, specifically as something worth talking about and worth remembering and documenting. I think that at the time, especially, there was a big movement of drag artists and musicians and performers that were pushing the envelope of what was expected of typical Atlanta drag. And so that has just kind of snowballed from there. Wussy kind of started as an online blog where we were documenting this stuff. And from there, we turned it into a biannual print publication. And we cover a lot of stuff in the Southeast because that is not typically covered. And but we cover things going on all over the country and the world now.
That's very impressive. That's very awesome. Where did you move here from?
I grew up in Columbus, Georgia, and went to school in Savannah.
Right, you went to SCAD, right?
Yeah.
It's rare for somebody to, I guess, find success as an artist and, kind of blending what you're being able to blend with like art and also political activism, so I commend you. I think it's awesome. I think we need more wussies out there. What made you think of the name Wussy?
So our friend Atlas, who's a DJ, is the one that thought of it. I hate naming things, and that was like the biggest headache for months trying to figure out what to name this thing. And the reason for calling it Wussy, like a lot of people don't even understand what that means, but people just use that as an insult and kind of a word like sissy or faggot to call gay people, queer people that look different. If you look on Twitter for the word wussy, it's a lot of Republicans talking about Democrats and calling them wussies. So yeah,
I like kind of like reowning, like reclaiming the name.
Yeah, it's about reclaiming the name. And we definitely wanted to project that we're not going to be all about the hyper mask for mask gay world of gym rats and all that. So it was a perfect encapsulation, I think, of the movement and the lifestyle that we kind of were wanting to project.
Yeah, and a little bit of that humor,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and on top of not wanting to be a projection of the, a mask for mask gym rat culture of gay people, but you've also made humongous strides in inclusivity as far as like racial representation goes. Like I saw that you guys are, you've been donating your funds from your sales, a portion to like the ATL Solidarity Fund to support people arrested during protest, which is just wonderful. Why don't you talk more about some of the racial inclusivity that you guys are really being leaders on?
Yeah, I mean, it comes naturally. I think what we started off the mission of Wussy was to reflect the actual queer community, and especially in Atlanta, there's such a rich culture of different types of people here. And I started Wussy with someone that I grew up with who is a Black trans woman, Zeta. She also used to do drag with Legendary Children, but she was always, pushing me to expand the scope of what we were covering, and that she definitely taught me a lot about that. And we've made missteps along the way, but it's really important to us. And especially because a couple of our editors are people of color, and we just never want to become part of the problem again. Part of that is putting your money where your mouth is and donating where you can, especially at a time like now, but it's also giving a voice to underrepresented people and Black people and giving them a say in it, giving them power, not just what you post on social media, like posting a black square on Blackout Tuesday, but actually giving them your platform to have a voice in it and have a stake in it. And that's part of what I've always tried to do.
I love that. I actually have a question. I have a question from the audience. I have a question from a fan, aka my girlfriend.
Ooh.
I know she introduced me to Wussy. My girlfriend is really big into LGBT rights, and she works for a nonprofit that works with LGBT youth who are experiencing homelessness. And her area is to work in the rural areas. And, she had a question. I'm trying to just stumble over my words. She loves Wussy's memes on Instagram. And she's curious in your stance of the magazine on Black and Indigenous people of color. So more specifically, her question is, of course, Wussy is supportive and, she's doing what she can, but how can she lift up Black and Indigenous people of color's voices as a white person, leading a queer org? So just kind of anything you have to say about that. Basically, we're white, so what can we do?
As a white person, it's hard for me to give a definitive answer on that. But I do think as white people, we should be finding ways to where we can use our platform and our privilege to give space to Black people and Indigenous people. And that can be in a variety of ways, whether I've seen a lot of organizations like let someone take over their Instagram for a week or a day, or, sharing things on your platforms and asking for signatures or sharing GoFundMes, things like that really do make a difference. But I think that, we definitely can't let the work stop there, because it is easy just to share something or retweet something and feel like you're kind of absolved from everything. And the work, there's always more work that needs to be done. I think there was a lot of people making strides in June towards that when all the riots and protests were kind of amped up. But I hope that people see it as an ongoing thing that needs to keep happening.
Yeah, and I think just being like straight up about it. I mean, when I look at, I follow Wussy on all the socials, and it's like, one article on the LGBTQ movement has a white supremacy problem, and then there's another article on the Indigenous Renaissance and the revitalization by young Native Americans. I think what we can do is put a face to these sort of abstract theories of not being racist, right? Like theoretically, we all get it, right? You don't want to be racist, but I think putting like a face and a name to these kind of ideals that we have, I think Wussy does that really well.
Yeah, I think it's a lot about being actively anti-racist and not just saying, well, I'm not racist, I'm not prejudiced, so they're not talking to me, this isn't about me. But there's there's things that we can all do. And even talking to our family members, that's something that I honestly have to do a lot, is have conversations with my family. And a lot of times they don't want to hear it, but it's not about blocking those people out of your life, because sometimes you're going to be the only one that are going to tell them what they're saying is problematic or actually hurts people. We all know people like that, whether it's people you went to high school with on Facebook or whatever. I think not shutting those people completely out of your life, but seeing that maybe no one took the time to talk to them and educate them. And for us as white people, it is our responsibility to educate each other.
Yeah, that's you may be the only person in their, they may have an echo chamber around them. You may be the only person in their feed willing to show a dissenting voice, and that could be very it's I think when we come at dissenting opinions and just make assumptions about them, but you're right, they could just not know and not have an awareness, and maybe no one has told them how offensive or hurtful their words or opinions on situations are. Like I've got none of my family is from the South. No one has ever lived in the South except for my parents, who moved here unrelated to family ties. Yet, my entire family is staunchly against removing my extended family, is against removing Confederate symbols. I'm like, but why? It has nothing to do with you. This isn't even your heritage.
Yeah.
Not that that's a good argument in the first place, but what is happening? This doesn't affect you at all.
Yeah. It's bizarre.
Yeah, right. It's just, it's something. I want to hear about. So, what's next for WUSSY? What is your, as a co-founder, what's the dream? What's the, not end goal? I think it's always going to be constantly growing and evolving. But it's like you've already taken, kind of just your platform is growing, and your scope. You've already talked about your scope growing. Moving on from just covering Atlanta to the Southeast to now covering national and international stories and culture. What does this look like? Give us the growth plan.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I had big plans for 2020, and
didn't we all?
Yeah. So I had like down payments on events and things and that we were working on for the fall that are not going to happen. So things are changing, but our next big step is we're working on our fall winter issue to come out in October. It was, going to come out during Atlanta Pride weekend, but that's not super important right now since Pride is kind of canceled except for digital events. So we are working on that, and we just started a new podcast called Good Judy, hosted by Brigitte Bidet and Ellasaurus Rex. So we're kind of working on different ways to spread the good word of WUSSY through different mediums like podcasts or YouTube. Ivy Fisher, our culture editor, has been spearheading a lot of the media stuff on YouTube, and we do have plans for a couple other shows on a couple other podcasts. We do have one with Barry Lee, who's a great Atlanta artist, called Ripe Podcast. It's about to come back. So yeah, we're trying to kind of expand the scope of it to be more of a media network and not just known for as a magazine, but we got plans.
Yeah. And you've been doing, I know you've been working with the Plaza Theater on the movies, the movie night. So I went and saw Jurassic Park a couple weeks ago, and I had an absolute blast. Like, it was so freaking fun to sit there in a car and watch the famous, Jurassic Park scene with the T-Rex coming and to the car. It was like so cool, and you have like the audio in your car. It felt like you were right there, and I definitely want to go to another one. I know Batman and Robin is coming up this weekend. Yeah. So I think it's really cool. You guys have been able to pivot really quickly and work with other orgs in Atlanta to kind of come up with entertainment for people. I've always been a huge fan of going to the Plaza movies pre-COVID when they were actually, people actually sat next to each other and watched a movie.
Yeah, our WUSSY Wednesdays at Plaza was my favorite event that we did every month. So I definitely miss being able to do that inside of the theater, but they've been really awesome in allowing us to be a part of their drive-in screening. So last month we did a screening of Purple Rain, and this weekend we're going to do Batman and Robin as kind of like a tribute to Joel Schumacher, who died last month. So that'll be really fun. We're going to, we've got plans for more of those. And then we do have our regular online events that are going to come up. We've been doing a telethon style event called the Big Ass Telethon to End Metronormativity with Queer Appalachia and Southern Fried Queer Pride. Our third telethon is coming up in a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, July
That's the big
25th.
one.
That's so fun. I love all of
We've got a lot in the
Wussy's
pipeline.
events. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been to a couple of, back when we were hosting live events, I've been to a couple Wussy events, just different parties and shows and stuff, and they're always a hoot and a half. I always
Good.
I'm having a good time.
Matthew aged 70 years in this podcast to be able to say that word.
I absolutely have.
So,
why they don't let me on TikTok.
I know. What advice would you have? Kind of, I'm sure we're nearing the end, but I'd love to hear what advice you have for young LGBTQ folks out there who are either struggling with their sexuality or struggling to find their place in the world or struggling to do good. It seems like you've been able to do that. You've been able to find a great win-win between doing good in the world and owning your sexuality and being comfortable with it. I'd love to know what advice you have for young folks out there.
Yeah. I think the biggest part of it is being able to find your community, find your tribe. I found mine going out to bars and to nightlife events. I know that's not a lot of people's style, but a lot of people find community through platforms like Instagram or TikTok. And I think finding that community will help you realize more about yourself and what you want for your future goals. The things that I'm doing now, I never thought that was what I wanted to do. I would have never found that had it not been for the queer chosen family that I found here in Atlanta.
Oh, heart moment.
Heart, yeah, right. Jon Dean, thank you so much for being with us today. We always like to give any shout out to. So we've got the Batman Robin event this weekend that we've got, of course, at the Plaza Theater. On social media, you guys are. I think all your social handles are at Wussy Mag, right? You locked them all down.
Yep, at Wussy Mag. You can find us everywhere on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. And you can find the Good Judy Podcast if you search for Good Judy or Wussy Mag on podcast app.
Awesome. It was such a pleasure to finally speak with you. I've been a fan of Wussy for, quite a while now. And I'm so excited to have you on the podcast to get to know you better. It was great. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.
That's it for NerdLanta, guys. We'll see you soon.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping through Amazon.com or the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.